What? All right. Anyway, hey guys, welcome. Today I'll be talking about some of my top films that I highly recommend, and I have extremely high ratings for these films. Generally, the films I'm about to list for you guys, I rate them anywhere between an 8 to a 10. So these are like some of the best films for me, some of the most revolutionary films for me, and some of my favorites personally as well. And these films that I'm going to point out to you are all those between the year of 2000 to the year of 2020. Now, I'm a 90s kid, so despite me having watched certain films that are way older, like I've seen The Godfather and I've seen stuff like early day animations like Akira. What other? I've seen a lot of other language films as well, but like the Jackie Chan movies, like Drunken Master, Talabadi. It's like a Tamil film and all that. So I've seen a lot of these older films as well, but today, I just want to be talking to you guys about those films between 2000 2020, and I think I've made a list that should be accurate. I've put together 20 films that because I tried to bring the list down to 10, but it felt a little bit too difficult for me because a lot of the films are quite close to each other in terms of their quality and what they provide. And one of the most important things I look for in films is rewatchability. And certain films like these, you can just rewatch them over and over again, and it's really difficult to get bored because of how much you're getting out of them. So first off, for me is definitely Gladiator. I have to say, this is a great start. It starts in the year 2000 precisely, and it's one of my favorite stories. Gladiator, of course, starred Russell Crowe. He was also, I believe, not sure. Oh, he was not the director. The director was Ridley Scott, but Russell Crowe, I believe, was heavily involved with the directing of the movie because I remember watching like the making of, and back then, making ofs were quite a famous thing. They used to come out on TV, and sometimes you get the making of even before the film, which was I don't know, sometimes a little bit odd. So. I really love this film. It's very close to my heart, and the music in the film I think was Lisa Gerrard, and everything that came out from this movie was great for me. So yeah, Gladiator is one of those films in my list. So this list is in not in the order of rating. I believe I ordered them based on the year they came out. So in terms of quality, they're in no particular order. They are all fantastic films. I think a Gladiator for me was a 9 out of 10 if you had asked me back then. Maybe now over the years, it can't stand out as much because obviously people can make better films now. They have better references from the past to make better films. They also have the budget, they also have the technology, but despite all that, Gladiator definitely shined back then for me. The next film for me is Pirates of the Caribbean. Curse of the Black Pearl. This film was revolutionary. No one makes pirate films these days, and especially after the year 2000, pirates seem like a thing very much of the past. But when the Pirates of the Caribbean came out, man, it was not just an ordinary hit. It was just a insanely good film. It was so fun. Johnny Depp was amazing in this movie, and I mean generally all the cast, right? Like Keira Knightley, Orlando Bloom, and even the what do you call this? Like all the other side characters, you love all of them. They all give good moments. It's a little bit eerie. It's a little bit fun. It's got such a great story, and Pirates of the Caribbean is just such a great movie overall, and you can rewatch it over and over again. Of course, the franchise did pull itself a little bit too far. I felt it stretched out on things that, uh, you know, just to make as much money as possible. They were basically milking this film at some point, and I think it was quite obvious that it's going down that direction. But regardless, I'll always love the original. And I just to let you know before I proceed, I unfortunately had to leave out The Matrix from this list because The Matrix is a film that came out in '99. I could have sworn I watched it in 2000, but maybe I watched it late. But it came out in '99, and for that reason I had to leave it out of the list. But it's one of those favorite movies for me that was really revolutionary, and I'll just mention it as like a honorable mention. So The Matrix. The next one that we're going to look at is the Matrix Reloaded, and I added this to the list because I couldn't add The Matrix, and I felt it was a really good sequel to the Matrix film and really carried on creating this really revolutionary film, a whole different idea and concept, and the design of this film, and the Wachowski brothers, who were the ones who were in charge of this. They really came up with something totally unique, a very fourth wall breaking concept. But it didn't quite break the fourth wall. It stayed true to its motive of dragging us into this digital kind of monster of a film, where it tells you that someday soon we may end up in this kind of controlled reality, because even right now, even though it's not digitally controlled, there are already, I hope the FBI is not listening, but there are already people out there that are manipulating things around us, right? We know from time to time things are tweaked to be certain ways, and obviously the most simple thing that we can point out is film reviews. But there's so many other things, like from food products to the quality of our water, to the quality of medicine we're getting, to all these anti-vaxxers and all that. There are so many kinds of conspiracy theories and whatever. Basically, there's a world outside our world, and there are hands above us that are kind of controlling and tweaking and manipulating things as time goes on, and we are all some form of a simulation, if you think about it. And the Matrix really opens up that concept of a simulation. And so yeah, but otherwise, definitely the Matrix over this film. But because that was like the ultimatum, I feel. But I just added this to the list because I felt no way I'm leaving out this particular story. So after that, we go to the Lord of the Rings, The Return of the King. This is my favorite Lord of the Rings film, of course, but I love all of them. Even The Hobbit, I love all of those as well. I felt this film was absolutely amazing. And then J.R.R. Tolkien's story, of course, the director is Peter Jackson, but Tolkien's story was what was brought to life, and it's an amazing story, and the world building in this is amazing. And these films, if you watch the extended cuts, they're extremely long. They're 4 hours plus and all of that. And the war scenes, the battle scenes, the story of Frodo and his friends. It's just one of those things that you don't get in many films because it's so difficult to make, and we know that. But also because Lord of the Rings has done it so well, so many people are afraid to do it again because it's not easy, man. Let me tell you that these people really did their research. They took their time, and the story itself in its core is such an amazing story. So when they bring it to life, they know that the story itself can carry all the little nitty bitty details and whatever. And even if the graphics don't make up for it, even if the acting doesn't make up for it, the story can carry everything. But guess what? Everything did do its part, which is why this is definitely one of the better films out there. So the next one on my list is going to be Star Wars Episode 3: Revenge of the Sith. And I know some of you guys, there are a lot of haters for this film and whatever. But for me, I felt this was one of the better Star Wars films out there. And quite honestly, it was for multiple reasons. One, it had a lot of improved graphics compared to its predecessors. And we knew that Episode 4, 5 especially held back a lot in its graphics, despite them coming out with some amazing ideas to make up for their lack of graphics. They had a lot of ways of making R2D2 feel really alive. They couldn't build they couldn't take all the scenes with the controlled Android, so I believe they had some manipulated manually from time to time. They put a stick in and they shook it, and so many things in the making of that they show you. But and also the lightsaber battles were not as epic. But in this film, we saw everything out to its max, right? And we all knew that it's a downhill journey from here, and it was. All the other Star Wars films that came after this, I felt were not that good. Maybe Rogue One was a little bit decent, but Rogue One is not really part of the what do you call this? The core story of the characters, which is basically the story of the Skywalkers, Anakin Skywalker and Luke Skywalker. And we are not counting Rey. No, she's not a Skywalker. Don't ever tell me otherwise. So that, and also of course the story between Obi-Wan and him and his love, all the difficult things that could happen to a Jedi happens to him, and we get to see it fledged to his fullest. So of course I felt it was one of the better films. Friendships, all these kinds of things, amazing things, and so many memes that lived for generations after this film came from this film. I mean, yeah, so there you have it, Revenge of the Sith. The next one I have is Casino Royale. I felt that this was quite a revolutionary film. I'm not sure if wait, let me just check. Did the world is not no wait, the world is not enough. This one came out in 99. Yeah, unfortunately, this came out in 99 because. Oh, wait. Or did it come out in 2000? Why is there two different. Why are there two different interpretations of this? Um. Anyway, The World Is Not Enough was one of my most favorite James Bond films because it was just such an action-packed film. But I felt Casino Royale took us back to the truer tone of what James Bond was intended to be. Because the author of James Bond originally, he he did describe in some of his articles that James Bond is supposed to be this very simple, boring-looking character to whom incredible things happen, and that was the way he put it. What is his name? Man, written by that has to be written by James Bond by. Is it Ian Fleming? I think it's Ian Fleming. Did they write it here? Fleming. Oh, there we go. There we go. Ian Fleming. Yes. So Ian Fleming is the one that wrote the James Bond story. So he told in an article that James Bond is supposed to be this simple-looking guy. He's like a spy. He's not supposed to stand out so much and look so cool. But of course, Pierce Brosnan really revolutionized that when The World Is Not Enough came out, and it took Bond to a whole new heights of action-packed. A serious kind of story. And if I'm not mistaken, before this, there was a few others. There was Tomorrow Never Dies, which is also a really amazing one. There's GoldenEye, yeah, all of these films. But it was brought back down to its originality in Casino Royale, and Casino Royale definitely took us through a ride with Bond. We saw quite a lot of cool shots of Daniel Craig doing really, really cool James Bond stuff, and it felt more of like we're going back to the 80s and the 70s and more to those original kinds of films, and it was really cool. So yeah, of course, Sean Connery is respectably one of the greatest of all time. But yeah, I felt this was one for the decades because the Casino Royale really is a James Bond movie that you can talk about, from and rewatch it as much as you need to because it's amazing. The next one in this list is The Prestige. Now, The Prestige is one of my most favorite mystery movies, and I felt it's also one of my more favorite Christopher Nolan films. And this is one of the reasons why I really fell in love with Christopher Nolan's films because the story in The Prestige is incredible. Of course, you have the amazing cast of Kristen Bale, Hugh Jackman, and Scarlett Joe. Scarlett Joe, not so much. Her role was a little bit small. It's mainly Kristen Bale and Hugh Jackman, and of course. They both steal the limelight equally. They both are very, very powerful characters. They are basically these two magicians, and they come up with a lot of technology to try to create this magic shows and whatever. And they introduce a little bit of what's that inventor's name? Nikola Tesla, I believe. And Nikola Tesla is like a character in this film, and it's really amazing. It's so exciting, and this is one of the films after I watched, I made everyone I knew watch it just because I knew how amazing this film was. And if you guys have not watched it, please go and watch this film. I beg you, it's such a good movie, and it's one of my favorites for sure. So that's it. This is The Prestige. The next one is the Transformers, and I'm a fan of the Transformers series since the 90s, of course. But I believe the early Transformers film came out in the 80s, which is Transformers, the movie. Do they have that here? There we go, 1986. So this is one of my most favorite Transformers films, but of course it's way past its time. It's a cartoon, and it's really cool. In fact, I can still watch it today and appreciate it. But trust me, when this movie came out, no one knew the graphics of this film would live up to the hype. One of the early trailers, if you guys remember, one of the early trailers of this film when it came out didn't quite show any Transformers transforming. It only ends, I believe, showing Blackout, who comes as a helicopter, beginning to transform, and then the trailer cuts. So you're left with the thought process of, did they actually make the Transformers look real? Like, was that a thing they could do? But man, when this film came out, it absolutely blew me away. It was incredible. The graphics, the aesthetics of this film was insane. Um, Shia LaBeouf as Sam Witwicky, I think was also a really fun character. Of course, there was all the other characters, Megan Fox and all that, and Michael Bay. He overdoes everything he does, but man, it was so cool. It's such a great movie, Transformers, and it's so fun and memorable. And once again, the series tried to milk itself, and you could tell that after one or two films. But at the end of the day, it started off so well, and it's one to remember. That's for sure. Transformers. The next movie for me is Slumdog Millionaire, and if you have not watched this, please do. It's one of those films where you don't you you. I mean, this story I believe was written in a book long ago, and I can't remember what's the name of the author or anything like that. I looked it up only after I saw the film, and I found it's actually from a book, but it sounded very familiar because I believe I had this book actually somewhere in my school library or something like that. And of course, we never took it seriously because it's a book, and there were so many other books to read that. I never really spent time to read this one, but when the movie came out, I was so excited for it. But the music and the moments in this film, and of course Dave Patel did very well, but A.R. Rahman's music really carried this film, and it really showed you a film of possibilities, a film of hope, and a film of how anyone has a chance in this world if they are in the right place at the right time, and that is reality. You can be the greatest, most talented person in the world, but if you don't get the right chances and you don't use those chances, you'll never succeed. And the same goes for the most untalented people in the world. They may be the worst, have the worst luck or whatever, but if they work hard and if they are there in the right place at the right time, they could be successful. And this film really depicted that. It of course depicted a lot of the hardship as well of of this character, and I felt it was such a beautiful film. Slumdog Millionaire, definitely. The next one for me is The Dark Knight. Another great film came out in the same year. Same year, right? Yeah, same year. The Dark Knight is, need I say anymore? It's The Dark Knight. Come on, it's like the core of Christopher Nolan's Batman franchise, and it's the film that I'm pretty sure people are making studies on this film based on just how amazing it was, and it brought to us a whole new Joker. It brought to us a whole new Batman, a Batman that was very grounded, very much more realistic, a Batman that didn't do roundhouse kicks ever so often, that didn't have the best gadgets in the world. He made use of what he had. It really looked like a guy out there could take on the role of what was depicted in this film and be a real Batman. That's what it showed. And yeah, Christopher Nolan executes it so amazingly, and with the cast that it had, I mean, it had no way of going wrong. But man, it did everything right. So yeah, that's for sure. Then we had Wall-E, and I believe Wall-E also came out in the same year. So what a year for films! Yeah, that's true. Wall-E came out in the same year as well, and Wall-E was one of my more favorite films. Now, I didn't really want to add animated films in this because there are so many other animated films like Spirited Away and all these, which are really great. But I wanted to leave Wall-E here because it's a film that I felt was pretty personal and close to me. And at the time I watched this film, was a time when I started falling in love and stuff like that. And Wall-E kind of ignited that little spark in me once again by showing me these real amazing moments with this robot, and how this basically this dumpster collecting robot, like think of it as an analogy of yourself, right? You could be the worst, you could have like the worst position in this world, right? You could be living in your mom's basement, you could be jobless, or you could be whatever. Of course, I was a student, thankfully, at that time, so less worries and whatever, but still. But despite all that, if someone really likes you for who you are, rather than what you are, or what you can do, but for really who you are. And that's what I felt this film was showing, because Wall-E this kind of garbage collecting android that changed everyone he touched. He went around this spaceship and he really changed the people in it. He changed Eve, right? Eve or Eva or whatever, and it really shows how Wall-E captures everyone's hearts, despite being made out of completely metal, and I felt that was incredible to see. So yeah, Wall-E. Avatar came out a year later and has animations that could beat most films today. Avatar definitely was, James Cameron outdid himself with this film. I felt the story, of course, was quite similar to a lot of other American stories. It's basically the story of the immigrant who comes in to conquer and turns out falling in love with the natives and helps them. On the other hand, it's very similar to a lot of Native American stories, a lot of early American Day stories. Pocahontas was one of those stories that was captured in Disney that had a very similar story to this. So Avatar's story was not entirely original. However, it was executed in a unique way. It had a lot of wonderful characters, it had a lot of amazing graphics, and the lore and the background behind the world of what was it called? They were called the Navis. The world is called Pandora, right? So the world of Pandora and the world building behind it was quite incredible. And I really like these kinds of world building stories where they really carry you away and show you this whole new thing for you to see. And ideas especially stand out to me in films. And I felt this film, despite having a very like an already existing story, they had quite a lot of unique ideas to it. So that was quite nice to see. The Watchmen. The Watchmen is definitely a revolutionary film. It is a film, one of those films that made me really adapt to Zack Snyder's style, and I feel that no one in the world can take a film like this other than Zack Snyder, because this was Zack Snyder Unleashed, and I believe the Justice League film is going to be similar, and I don't know whether he'll be given the chance to complete his 5 film arc. But regardless, this one shot, which was Watchmen, definitely captured his capabilities as a film director, his vision of artistic and what do you call this, visual filmmaking that I think no one else can do. And The Watchmen really does it, or rather overdoes it in quite an amazing way. A lot of characters here are shown to be very, the realistic possibility of how twisted people can be. And The Watchmen, I felt, was really that has earned that special place in today's world. And now, when anyone talks about The Watchmen, uh, this is definitely the best way they could have been brought to the world. And of course, this was the first Watchmen film. But in any other film or future depiction, you can't depict them as any less, because this film has set the bar so high, and it has also pushed the bar of other superhero films, because after The Watchmen, people are more daring to take films that question the concepts of superheroes, how dark it can be, and how horrifying reality can be for superheroes. And The Joker also has proved that people are willing to take that leap. Now, take note, animated films have done it in the past. Animated films have actually tried to go down darker parts, scarier parts, and all that. But I feel the recent DC Dark and all these kinds of things, they're really more daring and they're willing to do it. They're willing to have people's arms slashed off, and language use and all these kinds of things. People are becoming more open to understanding that the comic book readers or the cartoon watchers of the early days have all grown up into adults, and they are hungry for a very niche kind of storytelling. And The Watchmen definitely was the benchmark for that. The next one is Inception, one of my most favorite films of all time as well, and it's Christopher Nolan's I believe one of his finer works. And Inception is a film unlike any other. It has a story that is so unique. It has detail that many other films can only dream of having. And I believe a lot of Christopher Nolan's films are original scripts. There's very few films that you can ever dare say copied from, were copied from anything else or taken from anywhere else. The ideas and the concepts in this film of going down multiple layers in a dream to extend the time that they have to extract this information was just so amazing to see. I've never seen it being done, ever heard of that kind of thought, and I felt after watching this film, some form of Inception was done to me as well, because I can't find a way to hate this film, no matter how hard I try, and it is amazing. And I mean, Leonardo DiCaprio carried this film, man, it was so good, and every other character I felt were not overshadowed by him. They all played a very good part, but I felt that Leo really. See, the way I see Leonardo DiCaprio is that he doesn't act to outshine anyone. He acts to do his part, and I feel that that's the reason why you feel he almost looks like an actual character in a documentary that you're watching. He's just there as part of the film already. You can see other people like actually acting, but the way Leonardo does it is like he's already there. You know, he's a part of the film. That's why he's such a great actor. And I was so disappointed when he did not win any Oscars or what for this film, but eventually he did. So whatever, whatever. Anyway, the next one is Man of Steel. Man of Steel is a revolutionary film. It is a film that has changed the character of Superman forever. Zack Snyder removed the red spandex from Superman after, I believe, the New 52 comics, and of course, he was inspired by the comics and he brought it to life. And a lot of people had mixed reactions at first, but then they realized that what he has done was incredible because now even the TV series are doing it, more comics are doing it, more people love it. The style of the new modern Superman and Henry Cavill, I feel, has outdone the role of Superman, and it's going to be extremely difficult to replace him if he ever does get replaced. And I hope, of course, not. But it's going to be really, really difficult for anyone to fill in his massive, massive boots. And he has really showed Superman as a character closer to the originality of the character building from the comics. He doesn't start off as this fun guy that's going to save a cat from a tree, like how the old what do you call it, Superman films did it. And I mean, no shade or whatever to the older films, but this is the modern Superman, and I felt compared to Christopher Reeves, Henry Cavill is definitely a different take and closer to the comics. Because the comics, as always, DC Comics, they question a lot more serious motives, and everyone knows Superman is just way too powerful to be put up against a different villain every single time. So instead, he faces more unique ones where they all have different ways of breaking down his character. And this film really shows you building up a Superman that's going to face all sorts of challenges, and you can imagine him doing it because he's not fully a developed Superman. He's growing, and as he grows, you see his character change and the twists and turns he goes through, the morals he has to question, the difficult life he had as a child, and it's showing you that the Boy Scout is not all a scout. He has actually gone through and seen shit, and he's going to see a lot more things, and that's what this Man of Steel has set, and which is why I feel this is also one of the best, actually the best superhero origin film ever made. And I'll always rewatch this film for just how amazing it is. The next one is The Wolf of Wall Street. I believe Leonardo DiCaprio definitely outdid himself in this film as well. Martin Scorsese, one of the greatest directors of all time, took this film and took it to a whole new level. I mean, man, the scenes where he's just high as whatever, and he's doing crazy stuff. It's so incredible to see it acted out so well, and it's hilarious. It's you can feel the tension in the film as well, because while it's funny for us, we also know the seriousness of some of these scenes, like the moment when the FBI or what are going to show up, and he has to get back to warn his wife about the money, or warn his friend about the bank accounts or something like that. Man, it's so you can feel the tension, and I know Martin Scorsese purposely does these, and it's so incredible to watch. The Wolf of Wall Street is one for the ages, that's for sure. The next one is X-Men: Days of Future Past. I felt this was a very big leap for Marvel. This is Marvel's time travel movie done right. Endgame was done really bad. The time travel made no sense whatsoever. But this film did it a lot better. They didn't complicate things for themselves. They didn't question stupid things like, oh, changing your past, will change your future because you are from the past and then to the future, and then contradict yourself by taking out something else completely stupid. In this film, it's very straightforward. Kitty Pryde has the ability to change the past by sending someone back to the past, but she only sent a consciousness of them, so they will appear in their younger body. And they decide to send the Wolverine Wolverine back because they believe his healing powers will keep his brain from falling apart, and that's the reason they send him back. And this was, basically bringing Wolverine to the limelight. Hugh Jackman did an amazing role, and while in the comics Wolverine is not really a forefront character, I believe in these films he was brought to the limelight because Hugh Jackman is just such a great actor. So I really enjoyed it. Days of Future Past was mind blowing. It was such a great film. It was a more daring film for the MCU than any other film that they have done, and I felt that this is a film you can still rewatch and love it. And man, it's the X-Men. Come on, this is like everyone's favorite superhero team back in the 90s. You didn't have the Avengers or the Justice League doing stuff back then. It was the X-Men. They were the best, right? They were the coolest. But anyway, that's this. The next one is The Shape of Water. This is my favorite romance film in the last 10, 20 years or so, because before that there are so many other greater love stories, but recently I feel there was none that was this unique. I mean, we've seen it all. We've seen the uh, the breaking up and then falling in love again. We've seen the redeeming themselves by being close to the child. We've seen the weird stuff like Jim Carrey in Liar Liar and stuff like that. We've seen all sorts of unique love and comedy and whatever stories. But The Shape of Water was one of those films where when I saw the trailer, I was like, I'm not gonna watch this. And then when I watched it, I was like, oh my god, this is actually amazing. And it actually won 4 Oscars, so I didn't know that. I knew it was nominated as well, but it won 4 Oscars. And man, if you have not watched this, you should. It's one of those films where you think to yourself, should I watch this? It looks horrible, but once you watch it, you realize that it's really a beautiful film. And the love story that's done between Sally Hawkins and this alien. Yeah, you gotta watch it to understand it. There are a few ways that I can describe it that's gonna make it any better to you. Watching it is the only solution. Trust me, and it's such an amazing film, so unique and very mature, I have to say. The next one is Ready Player One. Steven Spielberg came back to the limelight to take this epic, I must say. Ready Player One is a film that I can live in if I get the chance. And it's like a gamers, geeks, and what do you call this? What's the term they use to describe? Um, no, that's like this term that they say for the not it's not mainstream. Oh my god, I can't find my words right now. But man, I was lost for words when I watched this film. This was a film full of not just amazing references and Easter eggs. It's basically a geek's wet dream, and everything you ever wanted was in this film, packaged as much as they could. And it was such an incredible movie. Of course, it overdid the Easter eggs part. I get it, but it's so fun. And if they made a sequel to this, or a series of this, man, I would watch every single one of it, because it was a whole epic to take this in the graphics and animations and the quality that they did. But it was fun. It was amazing, and at the same time, it had moments that really made you go, oh, okay, are they going to do it? Can they actually manage it? Is this what's going to happen? And then there are a lot of fan favorite films, moments as well. And yeah, this Ready Player One is one movie you can watch like 100 times and still find new things to get from it. So yeah, that's this one. The next one is Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This movie outdid every other Spider-Man movie that ever came. Like, this is an animated film, but it outdid every other film that came before it, and it'll probably outdo a lot of other films that came after it. I felt the only thing that came close to challenging this was Spider-Man 2, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 2. This one, Spider-Man 2. Yeah, this one, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 2, because this is my most favorite MCU film and my favorite Spider-Man film. But I have to, give a bow to Into the Spider-Verse, because the animation and the aesthetics and the way they took this film had so much of detail and so much of quality in it that it was really something. It was challenging for me to admit that this was better than every other Spider-Man film, and I realize it probably is. But of course, Spider-Man 2 is close to my heart for the fact that it really challenged the character of Spider-Man in a live action film. And Tobey Maguire, of course, did it amazingly. Doctor Octopus was, completely unbelievable. And if Into the Spider-Verse was not made, or if it was made in 2004, I doubt it would have been as good as this film. But because it had the chance to grow itself and it was made in 2018, it was definitely one of the better films out there. And yeah, it's probably the best MCU animated or Marvel animated film. That's for sure. The last one is Avengers Infinity War, and as much as you guys think I know I'm not really a fan of the Avengers or whatever, Infinity War is the best Avengers film. Period. Endgame is out. The first movie is okay. Age of Ultron is slightly better, but Infinity War is the best. It is a film that brought together so many characters together on the big screen, gave us so many wonderful things. The way they broke them up into teams and took the story and then showed each character with their incredible animations and the stories and whatever is so fun. And not many films will be able to do what Avengers Infinity War did. And they set the bar so high that, of course, they had the chance. They had the chance to learn from films like The Lord of the Rings. They had the chance to learn from films like The Watchmen, Man of Steel, and they had every opportunity to learn from these. And there are moments where Endgame copied from BVS and all of these stuff that's going on. We know there are things taken as a reference to both of them and whatever. Regardless, this film was really good. I enjoyed it, and I absolutely recommend you guys to watch it, especially if you're a comic book fan. You'll love this. And just as a film in general, if we take aside the fact that, oh, it's a comic book, it's a geek film or whatever, take all of that aside, look at it as just a story of the lore of these characters with amazing abilities. I felt that this was a great film. And yeah, so that's it. So this is my list of 20 films. I believe I covered 20. Let me just count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. I actually put 21. So I guess I'm going to put Infinity War in my honorable mention then, if that's the case. Just to wrap it up with 20. So that's it for me for this one. I can't wait to see the upcoming Zack Snyder's Justice League, and maybe there will be more incredible films to come in time. Unfortunately for us, thanks to the pandemic, we're unable to go to cinemas as usual. So I know it's difficult times, but we should be grateful that we have other ways to watch these incredible moments in films, incredible stories, what these directors want to show us. And I feel it's more important that we get to see um, what the story that they're trying to tell, rather than just think about, oh, I can't sit in a popcorn and share it with this group of people, like some kind of community or like a nation or whatever watching this. No, I guess you can't. But at least now you can feel it's more personal to you, because you're going to sit down in front of your computer or in front of your TV, and you're going to watch it by yourself or with your family or with your friends. And it's probably going to be a little bit different, but I feel that more importantly, you get to see the visions of each individual directors, and that's the most important thing. So yeah, if you guys haven't checked out any of these films, please do. If you think I missed out, a really incredible film, or if you think you have a list of 20 other films that's way better than mine, please do share it. I'm always open to reading as many comments as I possibly can. And there are some idiots who tell that I don't reply to comments. I mean, I'm pretty sure I've replied to as many comments as I could. If I didn't reply to a certain comments, it's for obvious reasons, maybe. But regardless, if you give me a comment right now regarding your list, I'll be sure to reply, and I'll check it out as well, because a lot of people have recommended to me films over the years, and I have watched as many as I could. And some of them do give me some pretty interesting recommendations. And The Shape of Water was actually a film that someone recommended to me, and I checked it out, and I was absolutely mind blown. It's such a good film. I would not have watched this honestly if I didn't get a recommendation, because by myself, when I looked at this, I was like, no, I don't think so. But yeah, I'm so glad that people recommended this film to me. And there are other similar ones, I believe, of course, the prestige was just me. I'm blowing the trumpet on this one, saying I recommended this to my family and friends. But yeah, actually, the rest of these are just pretty famous by themselves. The Gladiator, if I'm not mistaken, my dad took me to watch this film really early on, like yeah, 20 plus years ago in the cinema, and I absolutely loved it. Me and my dad both enjoyed this film, and I know I was a little kid, but I was really excited when I saw I think Maximus Decimus Meridius or something like that, and he shows up in the Coliseum and he challenges the Emperor, and he says, "I'm a father to a dead son, husband to a dead wife, and I'm here to get my revenge in this life or the next," or something like that. He says this incredible line, and I was just cheering in the cinema for this moment. And everyone's like, "Oh, look at this kid!" And it was so fun. And that's when I realized I love movies and I love stories that are told by these incredible people. And I can't wait to see more of such amazing things. So, yep, that's it for me. I went a little bit over the time, but I hope you guys like it. Adios, guys.